Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Workflows and Espressos. Got another week lined up for you, okay? And today we're going to be talking about some very important end of the year things as September starts to come to a close. Honestly, we're going to talk about end of the year evaluations, and this is a process that I've been going through, God, for the last 9 years. And is that right? 9 years. Yeah, that's crazy to think about. So this is my 10th year of employee evaluations, and I have learned a lot in the process as just an employee and now as someone who provides reviews to every single employee. And I'm gonna give you the 411. We're gonna get into it. But first, you must know then in 2 days, I am flying to New York and I cannot wait. So I got my wedding dress in New York, if you guys remember back in April, and I haven't seen it since April, beginning of April. So I'm having my final fittings in Soho next week and I cannot wait. I have been looking at pictures of my dress over the last however long April was, 6 months ago. And I just am so excited to put my dress back on. And we are officially 5 weeks out from the wedding, which is so wild to think about. Time has really flown and we're putting the final details on everything and we just can't wait to I don't know. Honestly, like part of me is sad that the day is going to be here soon because I feel like I've been looking forward to it for so long and I have a feeling I'll have some post-wedding depression. But I also just absolutely cannot wait for it to be here and to be with all of our friends and family and obviously to be on wearing my dress, right? Like that's so exciting. Also, Verma is in like 2 weeks. It's coming up so Verma International. It's coming up so fast and I cannot wait. I'm excited to be in Phoenix and have some warmer weather because it's starting to get cold here in Jackson and just see all of my friends that I love so much. So I'm excited to see you all there. And it will be technically not my first Verma as an appointed board member because I'm not appointed until November 1st, but my first Verma event knowing that I'm going to be on the board. So, like the party before the party, which is really exciting and such an honor. And also, I just can't stop thinking about the episode that I recorded with Tanner and Tyler last week. They have been my go-tos for all marketing related questions for the past almost decade, and to have had them on the podcast and be working together again in a new capacity is a very full circle moment for all of us, and the episode I just thought was so good, and there are so many people that I think, myself included, all the time that could benefit from their knowledge, so I just love that episode. I can't stop thinking about it. And Tyler texted me yesterday and was like, "Do you listen to your episodes after you record them?" And if anyone is wondering, I do not. And I probably should because I think I'd get so much better at podcasting, but it is physically painful for me to listen to my own voice. So that is why I think the episodes don't really get better. They stay the same because I'm certainly not listening and making edits. Sorry everybody. Okay. So, because my wedding is in the beginning of November, I am sending out employee evaluations a little bit early this year. And it got me thinking when I was planning for this episode that the topic of employee evaluations and how they fit into the year and why they're important. I think so many people do variations of employee evaluations. And I wanted to give you a little glimpse into my process and explain how it's worked. Full disclosure, this was really born by Ashley, the previous CEO of 360 Blue, who created this process back way before I started with the company. And we used that process all throughout my tenure at 360. And then when I started with Outpost Group, I kind of brought them to a new company and it gave a little spin on things just to fit the organization, and added a couple of things and removed a couple of things, but it is really her brainchild. So I'm excited to talk to you about it now because I think that it just has been such a really, really cool and important process and is something that I look forward to all year as I love receiving feedback on myself and providing feedback to employees in a more formal setting. Of course, feedback happens in one on one meetings throughout the year, but it's really an opportunity to kind of take a pause and give an employee accolades throughout the entire year and explain like what you envision for the company for the next year. And I think that really evaluating your strategy and who you have on your bus that is your team and who is sitting in what seats on the bus is so incredibly important. And what a better way to do it than through feedback, which, I love. We talk about it all the time. So, why employee evaluations matter. I think so much of this is a rhetorical question, but I find that I give feedback throughout the year to employees that report directly to me, and we have one on one conversations that are regularly scheduled. But unless something really big happens, either good or bad, oftentimes those touch bases are, "Hey, what's going on? Do you need help with anything? What are you working on this week? What can I do for you? What can the company do for you?" And you kind of get lost in the minutia of just busy day to day. And so I think that while those meetings are so, so important, this is really a time to pause and focus solely on an employee's performance and what thoughts you have gathered over the past year. And it is the only time of year, unless you choose to do this twice or even, quarterly, the only time of year where an employee really sits down and fills out an evaluation that is solely based on their own performance. And that self reflection period, I think, is really, really cool and exciting and tells you so much about what that employee thinks of their own performance and if that aligns with your expectations and what you have gathered over the past year or not. So, there are really 5 reviews that I think are important during this time. And the recipe for these evaluations I'd like to go over. So, number 1, I like to coordinate these evaluations with end of the year bonuses, whether this is a Christmas bonus or an annual bonus or a biannual bonus, whatever that looks like for your company. I think it's really great to associate a performance related bonus to an employee's evaluation. And along with that, if you are someone that does annual salary increases, which 99% of people do, I like to coincide the salary increases with the bonuses, with the evaluations, and really kind of wrap up the end of the year and head into a new budgeting season with new financial information on the payroll line. So, I think doing them at the end of the year toward the holidays is also exciting. There are so many things that are starting to wrap up. It depends on what your seasonality is, but for us in Jackson, we start to slow down during October and November, and then we speed back up again and get really busy around the holidays. So early November for these is a pretty good timeline for us, and I think it's really great because in so many aspects of the business, we're kind of taking a pause, collecting things, making improvements for the ski season, the winter holidays, and it gives us an opportunity like within that pause to evaluate performances and then make adjustments as we go into a busier season. So, along with time of year and how I like to coincide bonuses and salary increases or salary adjustments, I like to send out a couple of versions of employees. So, of employee evaluation. So, number one, I think it is so important for all employees to evaluate themselves. And to be honest with you, I just use a Google form that I send out to the company. And I'm sure there are a lot of other ways that are way more advanced than this. So, as someone who like often talks about AI and technology advancements, I use a Google form. Yes. Okay. Embarrass me all you want. It's worked for me. Okay. And then you know what? I use a Google sheet when I determine bonuses and salary increases. Okay. So that is my dirty secret. At least I'm not doing it on pen and paper. If you have a better idea or you do something differently, please, please tell me. But I send out a Google form and employee self evaluations. I like to include a mixture of questions. And I share these evaluations with the employee's direct supervisor and they all come to myself as well. Nobody else in the company sees them, and I communicate that to employees and encourage them to be as honest as possible about their own performance. And a lot of these questions are open ended, so they're more thought provoking. So this year, I asked questions such as reflecting on the past year. What are you most proud of accomplishing? And what feedback would you give yourself based on your performance? Or what barriers are preventing you from being successful? And I always ask employees what they see as their greatest opportunities are for improvement. So, kind of the standard evaluations, and then I mix a few, like, fun things in there or more, like, thought-provoking from a personal aspect. So, what podcast do you listen to while you're working? And if you could have any job at this company or with somebody else, like, what would that job look like? And what would your job description be? What is your dream title and why? And my hope and objective from these evaluations is a couple of things. Number 1, I wanna understand at the end of the day when the employee looks in the mirror what they feel their performance has been this year. I also wanna talk to them about what they're most proud of because a lot of the times, like, my answer is very different than what they're really proud of, and I think that's just such a cool opportunity to get to know somebody a little bit better, and then, of course, the opportunities for improvement and the tougher feedback that I think is important to give, and a lot of the times I've noticed as we started to do these evaluations, employees understand their greatest opportunities for improvement. And if they don't, then there's typically already an issue with that employee already. So, those evaluations I usually give about 2 to 3 weeks for employees to fill out and encourage them to be to provide examples and to answer with as much detail as they possibly can, which allows me to prep for those reviews. And I give myself from receiving their feedback about a week and a half to start prepping. And if it's someone that doesn't report directly to me and they report to a manager that reports to me, I will meet with those managers and we'll go through each of those evaluations thoroughly. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to In Haven Insights. I have one of my favorite people in the world here with me today. Ashley, what do you have for us this week?
Hey, Meaghan. So, as you know, InHaven is a procurement platform dedicated to the vacation rental industry, and we work with hundreds of property managers representing tens of thousands of listings. And one trend that we see is that property managers, especially those with over 50 properties, or so looking to scale, there's a growing focus on creating and optimizing linen programs as a way to not only enhance the service quality in your operations, but to also generate new revenue streams. And so by working closely with us, property managers can develop a linen program with tailored pricing strategies, and we work with them closely to do so. We explore, modeling it out, whether they charge that cost back to their owners on a quarterly, monthly, annual basis, or by charging their guests as part of the resort or cleaning fee.
Ashley, I love it. So, beyond the pricing strategies, do you do anything else with property managers to help them implement linen programs?
Yeah, so we do. We provide support in creating marketing materials to help our customers transition their existing owners onto the new linen program. And this really ensures a smooth and beneficial shift.
I know those marketing materials can be so useful when communicating with owners. So I love it. Ashley, how can people reach out to you if they want to learn more about this for their own business?
Yeah, so if you're looking to start a linen program or just optimize your existing linen program, please do reach out to me at ashley@inhaven.com or visit our website. We love helping professional property managers optimize their operations and explore new revenue opportunities.
Amazing. See you next week. The next piece of the evaluation that's very important in this recipe is the supervisor's review of that employee. And I ask very similar questions to the supervisor. And if it's me, then I fill out the review. And those questions are, what do you think the employee's greatest accomplishment was this year? Where did they really, really excel in their role? What do you think that they can do better next year moving forward? I typically use opportunities for improvement. Do you feel that this employee showed up on time and completed their work on time and was a good team player? There are Ashley told me this many years ago, and I think about it all the time that there are 2 sets of boxes that you want your employees to check, and I think I've probably already told this story on the podcast, but it's so good. The first set is the can they do the job boxes, right? Like, are they detail oriented and meticulous? And do they show up to work on time? And do they complete their work in a timely manner? And if their role is X, are they doing X or are they doing Y, right? Like all the things that are associated with an employee's job in their job description, are they checking those boxes? And then there's the attitude boxes. Can they work well with others? And are they somebody that coworkers want to sit next to at work, or do they dread being around them because they always have a horrible attitude and they can't work with others at all and they blow things way out of proportion and they're just generally a curmudgeon or someone that's not great to work with? And I remember Ashley telling me, like, I would pick an employee that could check the attitude boxes all day long before I picked one that could check the skill boxes. And of course, there's caveats there depending on what role. And that resonated with me so much because you can train skills typically, right? And you can't really train somebody to have a good attitude and be able to work nice or play nice with others. And it sat with me for the last decade, and it is always something that I have supervisors ask and put on evaluations. And every single year, if an employee is incredible to work with, no matter what skills they need to, I mean, I guess I won't say no matter, but whether they need to improve skills or not, typically everybody has room to improve. I always say, hey, you are such a joy to work with. You come in with a smile on your face. You don't let personal things get in the way with your performance, and you don't bring that with you into work. And if you do, you're very clear about it and you make sure that it doesn't happen for long, and your teammates love working with you and you're so helpful with teamwork. I think that, like, there cannot be enough praise given to those employees that are checking the attitude boxes. So, supervisor employees typically fall in line with those questions that I ask on employees' evaluations of themselves, just from the flip side. And then I also have employees review their supervisor, and I do so anonymously. So when I am providing that feedback to the supervisor, it comes through me first, and then I kind of scramble it all up and provide that feedback because so much if you are a CEO or an owner of the company, the way you view your managers is very different sometimes than the people who report directly to them. And I hate to say that, but a lot of times people are giving you, as the head honcho, the person in charge, the best version of themselves. And when you give the employees who spend every single day, day in and day out with their manager, the opportunity to have a microphone and give some direct feedback that they know won't be shared along with their name to their boss, they often open up a little bit. And sometimes you find out some things that you don't necessarily want to know, just because it's hard to address. And can be sad, especially if you think that this employee is doing a really incredible job. But I think it is so important to get that feedback because not everybody's meant to be a manager. And I think that that is underrated dialogue that happens in, not even in this industry, but just in general. There are so many times where someone receives a promotion and they start people managing. And I think it's really hard that the only way to advance in your career is to be able to manage people, because I think some people are really capable of doing very high level work that aren't capable of being managers. And these reviews are one way to find that out. So, are you with me here? Let's see. Let's go through them. Employees review themselves, employees review their supervisor anonymously, and then supervisors review their employees. Okay. So, two things that I've added recently. Number one, because I do not receive a review, but I really crave feedback. And I know that oftentimes, if I had employees submit reviews that went directly to me with their emails attached to it, I wouldn't necessarily receive honest feedback. And I think Jeff from Host GPO did something similar to this, and it was really great. I started it last year. Is employees that report directly to me, I send them all a Google form reviewing my performance that they can submit anonymously. So it goes to me, and I added in a couple of multiple choice questions, and then the long form answers are optional. That way, if they felt like their communication through like actual long form responses could be captured because I know how they speak, then they don't have to fill those out and they're still able to fill out like multiple choice, like, how do you think Meaghan is performing as the person that's running this company? And I was really nervous to send out this feedback, and it did not, I made it optional for employees, but I actually got some responses and it was really, really good. And there are things that I have tweaked in the past year based on feedback. And there are also things I've kept doing because employees pointed it out to me during that evaluation that it meant something to me that I was doing X, Y, or Z. So, the second thing that I've recently added is a review of the company, and I've also made this optional because I think at this point, like, we've got a lot of different reviews going on, and not everybody has to fill out 5. It certainly depends on what if you have direct reports or not, and I don't know. I actually think this is what Jeff did. He had host GPO employees review the company and his strategy, and if they felt like the company was headed in the right direction and if they trusted leadership, and I love this, and he posted on LinkedIn about it, how he was scared to send this out to the entire company, but he got so much good and feedback that they could improve on in general. Like, I don't know, I kind of am of the opinion that any feedback is good feedback, whether you do something with it or not, right? Like, whether it's just someone that, like, maybe I won't really use this feedback, or whether it's something that could genuinely change the shape of your career and how you choose to lead a team and lead a company. So I ask questions on this company evaluation. Number one, it's optional. If you don't want to fill it out, you don't have to, but it does give you the opportunity to review the company. How happy are you with our benefits package? How happy are you with the direction of the company? Do you feel clear on the direction the company is headed in? Do you trust the vision of the company? Is there anything that you would change? How do you feel coming into the office every day with the culture that we've built? And I think you have to be careful here with inviting a certain kind of feedback. I think the important thing to do is to whatever questions you choose to ask, and it's totally up to you and the structure of your company, is to ask it through the lens of could this be actionable, constructive information? And if I receive feedback that I don't want to see, am I willing to do something about it? I.e., if somebody comes and says, "Hey, I don't trust the vision of this company," and are you willing to be more clear about your vision and why employees should trust it or no? And if you don't wanna open up that can of worms, I understand. Don't send this out. But if you are wanting to receive this direct feedback in the form of an anonymous form, I highly encourage it. I think you will learn a lot and it will really help steer the direction of the company and definitely how your leadership will change throughout the year. So, now that we've sent out all the evaluations and we've give everyone ample time to answer them and we have put on a spreadsheet or some other software if everyone's way more advanced than me, what you want to provide employees in terms of compensation adjustments, now is the time to actually sit down during reviews. And what I think is really important here is to schedule these reviews for specific time blocks, whether it's 30 minutes or an hour. Totally depends on how big your team is and what you really want out of those reviews. And I think it's important for you, as the person that's conducting them, to prep significantly because if this is only happening once a year, even once a quarter, like, employees deserve for you to show up for them and be very honest in your feedback. Take their answers to your questions to heart and really consider what you want them to hear during this review. And it can typically, like, I like to take about an hour for the director level employees and 30 minutes with a supervisor if there are other employees that don't report directly to me and they're typically taking a little bit longer. And I will set prep time on the calendar so that when I go and I sit in front of these employees, I'm providing them with meaningful feedback. And I always go back to actionable items. Is this actionable? Do I feel like at the end of the day, the employee can walk away from this conversation, whether they're upset because they got some critical feedback or they're really, really happy because I praised how great they were and how much of an incredible member of the team they were. And that was their biggest takeaway. They deserve to walk away with something and it should be aligned. Typically, that's how you know you've communicated it well with how you feel their performance has been over the past year. So, my advice there is to prep, Set intentional time on the calendar. Last year, I did our reviews in a private study room at our public library, and I thought it went great. We just don't have an office that allows for a lot of privacy. So I encourage you to book a private location, make sure that you have ample time reserved. And I typically like to perform the reviews in a week time period. It, of course, depends on how big your team is, and I kind of stack them. That way, everyone kind of goes in the week with a little bit of nerves, but by Friday at 5 p.m., it's all over. The stress is done, and you can start a new week and really a new year on a different foot. And you're not really nervous about employee reviews. And you also understand what this means for your compensation. And finishing these up on a Friday is really great because it gives everybody the time over the weekend if they have any questions to come back in, and if they wanna set up a follow-up, they've had a couple of days to digest it, and review week is officially over, so emotions are a little bit lower and not as heightened with those nerves. I think that what I want your takeaways to be here are, number 1, if you already have an employee evaluation process, I think that is absolutely incredible. Keep it up. Look at it from all angles and truly understand, like, what is the most you can do to ensure that employees have the most honest feedback and a holistic view of your vision for the company, and that they get to provide you and their supervisors with the same feedback so everybody can be their best selves at work. 2, setting intentional time for those evaluations and making sure that you're preparing accordingly. And 3, I think more than anything is it is really, really hard to sit in front of somebody when they give you direct feedback, and having empathy for that and understanding that it takes courage to sit in front of your boss and stand up for yourself and advocate for yourself in regards to compensation and your performance. And I think what we can do as leaders is to hold as much empathy as possible for what it takes to have those conversations and provide the most honest feedback that we possibly can, that everybody is deserving of. So, with that being said, happy review season, everybody. I'm so eager, and I would love to hear about all of your review processes. I wanna know what you do, how many times you give formal evaluations, if you've been doing this for years, if you're starting it this year, if this has helped you. Give me all your feedback and write in. Go to workflowsandspressos.com and ask Meaghan. And you know what? The next time we talk, I'm gonna have a wedding dress. Can't wait to see you. Bye.